Hi, I'm Tammy Powley, and this is the Crafty Princess Diaries podcast, episode 6, entitled Another Knitted Scarf? You can find show notes over at my weblog, www.tammypowley.com, and that is spelled TammyPowley. You can also go over to youtube.com and subscribe to my channel there. I have other videos that I put up occasionally. Like last week, I put up one that shows how to make felted Christmas ornaments. It's not a podcast episode. It's just a quick and dirty how-to. And I think 3 episodes ago or so, I showed some Christmas ornaments that I was making with my craft club, and this gives a little bit more detail about how to actually put one together. So if you subscribe, you're going to get notifications about anything I post over there. Today is October 6, 2014, and I am in Florida, and the sun is really out. I've been messing around with the lighting for the room today, and really I have a huge window over here, and it's just pouring in, even with the curtains closed and everything. It's a beautiful day out. It's about mid-70s, so I apologize if the lighting is a tad weird. So let's see. I'm going to roll right into the crafting and talk about anything personal at the end of the episode, and I'm going to try to remember to do that in future episodes, so that way if you just want to get into the crafts and you don't have time to hear me yammer on too much about anything else, you can just do that and then stop early. Or if you're interested, stay for the whole thing. Again, I try to keep all my episodes under 20 minutes. So going right into finished objects, I have a couple of things I've made, including, first of all, a little beanie hat, child-sized beanie hat. This is leftover yarn. In fact, both of the finished objects I've made are for a project called Craft Hope that is running right now. It's called, Craft Hope is a weblog, and every couple of months the blogger over there puts together a community, run crafting project. And right now she's doing one for We Are Kenya. I think the deadline is around mid-November. I want to say the 15th, but go over there and double check. And she's collecting things for the children over there, like little hats and scarves, and also stuffed toys. So if you're interested, I will have her link in my show notes, but obviously if you Google Craft Hope, you will find her. It's a very popular weblog. So anyway, this little beanie hat I made using leftover stuff, and what I've done, I kind of got the idea, I have, quite a bit of leftover parts and pieces of some pretty decent yarn, but it's not really big enough to make anything for an adult. So I'm making scarves and hats. If I can, I'll show you some of the other stuff I've got for them. And this is something, I believe this is some yarn from Peru. It's really pretty. And I used a free pattern from Fresh Stitches. You can go over to freshstitches.com and pick this up. It's just a beanie hat. In this pattern, she uses chunky yarn. I think she might even double it. And I want to say a K size hook. But you can just adjust it depending on, the type of yarn you have. This is really sock weight yarn, I believe. And I used a size H hook. Okay, but the pattern works. It's just the counting that you need to crochet in the round. The other thing I made recently for Craft Hope is a little knitted double crochet scarf. This is great type of thing to do in the evening when I just in front of the TV watching The Walking Dead right now. Yay! And then I trimmed it in single crochet. This yarn is also really some beautiful, actually it's hand dyed from an indie dyer who does not dye anymore, so I won't even tell you who she is because you can't get this yarn. But I had this left over from some fingerless gloves I had made, and it is beautiful. I love that color. So anyway, those are the 2 things I made recently in the past couple of weeks. Also, I had these in my stash for future charity projects type of thing, where I had this idea like, I'll make a whole bunch of stuff and put it in for charity later. Well, I only have 2 things, but as it turns out, one is a little kid's hat that I made using one of those round knit looms, okay, and then another of my mini knitted scarves, okay, just garter stitch. This is actually some merino superwash, and I think I got it a while ago at a local yarn shop. She doesn't have a huge amount of selection because she's kind of more into weaving, but this is when I was turning back from, not turning, I guess, pursuing the idea of using wool more so than acrylic, because of course living in Florida, we just don't see a lot of wool down here. So anywho, I happen to have these two already in my stash, so they'll be going to Craft Hope along with these. Okay, and this kind of leads me into works in progress. Let's see, first I have, and these are all 31 bags if anybody cares. I'm not going to go into like a huge spiel about them. They're about $15 if you know anybody that sells 31 stuff. I know a lot of bloggers and podcasters like to go into detail, which I find interesting about their handmade, items that they put their handmade items in. But anywho, the other thing I'm working on, and this may or may not, depending on how soon I get it done, go to the Craft Hope project, is Blair the Ghost Bunny. Oh, there he is, Blair the Ghost Bunny, also fresh stitches. I started this guy a couple of weeks ago, I guess, because really the only reason I even started this project was because I was getting ready to visit some family and out of town, and I needed some project to take with me that wasn't going to be intensely brain requirement type project, something I could just do with a limited amount of paying attention to it. And I knew I had actually kind of saved this, set this aside. This is some baby soft from Lion Brand. I've used this before to make hats. And so anyway, I thought this would be a really cute bunny. This is sport weight, and the pattern calls for worsted weight. So I went down to a G size hook. But this is kind of this will take a while because I'm not really pushing on it. I have a lot of other things that I need to work on anyway. Okay, so that's one of the works in progress. What else am I working on here? Oh, also, now this for sure I will send to Craft Hope and I will have it done. Another double crochet scarf. Again, I have some more of this purple merino yarn. I believe this is, I want to say it's from Black Sheep. I can't remember exactly, and I don't have the ball band. Sorry, guys. So anyway, that for sure. So at the very minimum, I'll have 3 scarves and 2 kids' hats to go, and possibly a stuffed bunny. They did say they wanted as many toys as possible, no minimum requirement on that. And then the other thing I'm working on, and I really came close to finishing him. I was kind of bummed I didn't finish him this weekend. Another, yes, fresh stitches. This is dragons. It's called Choose Your Own Dragon Adventure. And you kind of pick different parts and pieces and design your own dragon. I'm so close. This guy's almost done. And you can see I'm using all types of different colored yarn. These are scraps that I had, so he has different colored wings. I have to finish the body, add on his legs and a tail, and of course stuff him and stitch him and put his eyes on. But he's super close to finishing. This guy takes a while. I mean, it's a lot of little pieces to make and everything. So he's the second one I've made using this pattern, and they came out really, they're so adorable. But anyway, this guy is actually, he will be sold to go along with my craft club. They have, or we have a fundraiser in early November, so we will be selling items like this guy and then donating the money to one of our charity projects. Probably Domino's House, which is a no-kill cat shelter. All right, so so that's my finished objects, works in progress. Future possible projects. I showed you this yarn already that I purchased a couple weeks ago at a yarn shop in Cocoa Village, Florida. It is hand painted cascade. I think it's nylon and wool. And originally I was going to make a net type crocheted shawlette out of it, but I think I looked around and I found a pattern that I really like that I think would work well for the warm weather down here. And it's called, let's see, I wrote it down here. Anastasia Knits is the designer. She has a number of other projects. I think I've made one of her scarves before. This is called the Snowdrop Shawl, and it is a crochet pattern. You can find it free through Ravelry.com. So if you just go to the patterns, go to crochet, click on shawlettes, it's on the first page. So scroll down there. I think I did a search once for snowdrop, and I'm not sure if I put in it as one word or two words, and I had trouble finding it that way for some reason, probably because I put it in incorrectly. So anyway, that's a possible, I think that's what I'm going to do with this yarn, and pretty soon, because I really like it. I want to use some nicer yarn. I'm kind of getting tired of acrylic right now with all the amigurumi I've been making. And then knitted scarves. Knitted scarves question mark. I have made a lot of knitted scarves, and the thing is though, I don't have time to make anything really complicated when it comes to crochet or knitting or really anything else, because like most everyone, I'm really busy with work, so, and life in general. But I do have a couple of friends of mine who are knit worthy. Holidays are coming up. I thought, well, you know, if I make another garter stitch, you know, shawl, or a shawl, I'm saying scarf. If I make another garter stitch scarf, maybe trim it in seed stitch so it's not quite as boring for me. I could use up, I have some beautiful baby alpaca that I've been, you know, stashing away, and some of it's like this dark purple and then some light purple. I could kind of mix them up. I will probably go ahead and do that, because that way I can still work on, you know, keeping that muscle memory that is so important when you're learning something like this, and then be able to have a scarf to give to them when I see them over the holidays. So that is probably something I'm going to do. And that way I get a little bit more knitting in. You know, even if it's another scarf, it's not like the last scarf I made, which if you saw any of my episodes, it was a basket weave scarf, and it was taking me forever because it was on really, for me, small needles, and it was, you know, a lot of back and forth with knit and purl. So, but if I keep it simple this way, I still can work on my knitting but not have to commit to anything massive. So, because I don't really see me taking a Craftsy class again until the Christmas break comes up. It's just not going to be possible. So, okay, those are all my crafting projects. And then, of course, my tip for this, what do you call it, this episode has to do with stitch markers. And because I do a lot of amigurumi, I use stitch markers quite a bit, because you have to, because otherwise you're going to lose your place when you're counting. So sometimes you have to use the locking stitch markers, for example. Let's see if you can see that. Okay, these are super handy. But another thing that these are really good for, other than keeping track of where you're at when you're knitting and crocheting, is that if you are working on a project, like I should have done this with my basket weave scarf and I did not. If you're working on a project that's quite time consuming, and or you're doing a repetitive stitch over and over and over again, and it doesn't feel like anything's growing, pop one of these guys on there, okay? Put one of these on, and that way you can see where you're at and how much progress you've made. So it may not feel like you're doing a lot, but then if you put this on there and then check, and then, you know, try to kind of remember, and then move it every time you work on it. So if you know, put it on there, work on it for a little while, like an hour or whatever, TV, move it again, you know, it'll make you see, you know, physically see how much progress you've made. So that is my little tip for stitch markers, okay? Definitely get these. You can get these at Knit Picks, and most yarn shops have them, and even places like Joann and Michael's and that kind of thing. So that is my little tip. All right, so that wraps up all the crafty goodness for the most part. My personal little info is kind of craft related, but not necessarily. It's more personal. So if you want to sign off at this point, I would say goodbye. Please come back. But otherwise, I'm going into some stuff that is not necessarily totally craft related. All right, so this week I'm going to a conference for English teachers, college English professors, I guess you could say. We're all teaching college. And I'm going to be presenting, and my presentation is going to be related to the craft club that I sponsor. I don't know if I'm going to write a full paper on this or not. With this conference, normally when I have gone to it, I usually have a practically finished paper, you know, or pretty darn close to finished paper. And then around May, if you want to submit your paper for the proceedings that they published for the conference, you can submit it for possible publication. But this is the one time I didn't do that. There was some wasn't exactly sure if I was going to the conference there for a while. Plus, I find this topic really interesting, the idea of, you know, stitching, so to speak, curriculum and crafting together. And I have a lot of anecdotal evidence of student success, students who, maybe you were kind of shy or reserved and then came into the craft club and got a little bit more brave about everything. They got some self-confidence, and I could see that reflecting in their academics. But honestly, I don't know if I am so interested that I'm willing to spend a lot of time researching and writing. And I mean, these are hefty 15 to 20 page papers, and it takes a huge amount of time. So I'm kind of on the fence about whether I will write a full-blown paper about it or not. But I am looking forward to presenting and letting other instructors know about my experience with the club. And maybe they'll do something similar, because I think there's a lot of good that the club does, not just for themselves but also the community. So we'll see. Maybe after I present and everybody says, "Oh, what a brilliant idea, you should totally write that up," maybe I will, but I don't know. In the past, I've done other presentations that are more related to literature. For example, one paper I wrote about Flannery O'Connor's work and how it relates to Florida, or vaguely relates to Florida. I mean, I managed to make this connection, let's put it that way. I've also written some works related to the Florida literature, generally speaking. And I have a book coming out, actually, which when that comes out, I'll tell you more about that. That's related to Florida literature. But anyway, we'll see. Like I said, I'm looking forward, and it's always nice to go to one of these conferences, because it kind of like reminds you, like, why am I doing this? And sometimes it's the only time I get to see my other, the other instructors that I work with, because we all have different schedules and very busy lives. And we have offices, but we don't. It's not like an office where you have a water cooler and you walk by and you see somebody at their desk and you're like, "Hey, how's it going?" Chatting. We have offices, we're in there, we're working, but like I said, we all have different schedules. The college I work at has 5 different campuses, so you may have to go to a whole nother county to teach one day. So that's a nice time to be able to kind of see these people that I work with. So I guess that's it. Yeah, every 2 weeks seems to be working pretty well for me, but I'm interested, again, if you have any feedback as far as things you'd like me to talk about or show or do. Hopefully my jewelry people aren't too disappointed that I'm not doing a lot of jewelry, but it just is not convenient for me right now. So the yarn is calling my name more so, and it's just easier. Don't forget, you can find the show notes when I publish this over at tammypowley.com, and you can subscribe to me through YouTube, and I will see all you guys, I guess virtually see you, or you will definitely see me in a couple of weeks. Have a wonderful 2 weeks of crafting.